Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. History was made in the Oval Office just moments ago. A spectacle unfolded that will be talked about for years. A thunderous, high-stakes confrontation between U.S. President Donald J. Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The setting? The most powerful room in the world. The stakes? The future of a war that has drained America's coffers and endangered global security. And the outcome? A humbling, historic smackdown that put an end to Zelensky's unchecked demands for endless American treasure and weapons. This wasn't diplomacy as usual. Let's have a listen.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what,
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden who was not a smart person. Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America. And for the good of the world, I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world.
This wasn't diplomacy as usual. This wasn't the sterile, a scripted performance we've come to expect from Washington's ruling class. This was a WWE-style tag team takedown with Trump and Vice President JD Vance schooling a desperate and defiant Zelensky on the New World Order. And quite frankly, long overdue. It was magnificent. Zelensky arrived, as he always does, in his fatigues, his costume of war, this perpetual signal of victimhood. But this time, the mask was ripped off. For years, he's strolled into Western capitals like a conquering hero, lecturing, demanding, shaking the tin cup, and walking away with billions of taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. Not anymore. The Trump era is here, and with it, the era of peace through strength, not peace through endless funding of foreign wars. Minutes into the meeting, Trump cut through the pleasantries and delivered a brutal dose of reality. Either make a deal or we're out, he told Zelensky. You're in big trouble. You're not winning this. Boom. There it was. The uncomfortable truth, spoken with the force of a sledgehammer. The American people are done playing piggy bank for a war that isn't theirs. The blank check policy is dead. It's over. The days of Zelensky waltzing into Washington and leaving with a duffel bag full of cash is over. The war in Ukraine has been a black hole, swallowing billions upon billions of dollars with zero transparency and no end in sight, no clear objective other than to weaken Russia at any cost. But here's the problem. America never signed up for a proxy war with a nuclear power. The establishment, the deep state, the arms dealers, they all wanted this to be another forever war, another Afghanistan, another Iraq. They needed it. They thrived on it. But Trump, he's cutting off the oxygen supply. Zelensky, caught off guard, tried to shift the conversation, bringing up Trump's alleged coziness with Putin. A desperate, weak move. Trump shot back with the line of the century. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm aligned with the United States of America. Boom. Game over. Here's another exchange between Zelensky and Vice President JD Vance.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
You know, the liberal media is going to spin this as Trump being pro-Russia. But let's be clear. Being pro-peace doesn't mean being pro-Putin. This war has taken hundreds of thousands of lives, destroyed a country, brought the world closer to nuclear conflict at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And for what? To serve the geopolitical fantasies of neoconservatives and defense contractors. To pretend that Ukraine, a deeply corrupt nation where opposition leaders and journalists are arrested, where an entire state religion has been banned, this is not some shining beacon of democracy. Trump is doing what no Western leader has dared to do. Drag Zelensky to the negotiating table, kicking and screaming. He's refusing to indulge the fairy tale that Ukraine can win an unwinnable war, and he's rejecting the lie that America's involvement is about defending democracy rather than enriching the military-industrial complex. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, they played the clip. JD Vance steps in and body slams Zelensky with some hard-hitting questions. Do you think it's respectful to come to the Oval Office and attack the administration that's trying to prevent the destruction of your country? He asked. It's a brilliant rhetorical kill shot, because here's the truth. Trump and Vance are the only ones fighting to save Ukraine from a complete annihilation. The Biden regime was happy to let Ukraine bleed out, to turn the country into another forever war wasteland, just like Libya, just like Syria. They didn't care about the Ukrainian people. They cared about money, power, arms sales. Zelensky was stunned. He tried to fight back, claiming that without American aid, Ukraine wouldn't have lasted 3 days. And in so doing, he accidentally admitted the truth. Ukraine is entirely dependent on the United States. Their war effort is only possible because American taxpayers have been footing the bill. And now, with Trump calling the shots, that bill is being torn up. The ruling elite never saw this coming. They assumed the war would drag on indefinitely, that Trump would be too politically cautious to pull the plug. They were wrong. What they witnessed in the Oval Office earlier today was the beginning of the end of their globalist tyranny. A world where America fights endless wars while its own people suffer. For years, Washington elites told us the fate of Ukraine was inextricably tied to America's fate. They had to fight Russia over there so that we don't have to fight them over here. That Ukraine's sovereignty mattered more than their own. That sending weapons to Kyiv was more important than securing their own border. Trump has shattered that illusion. He's pulling the United States back from the brink of another catastrophic military entanglement. And he's forcing the world to recognize peace is not achieved through perpetual war, but through strength, diplomacy, and common sense. This isn't about siding with Putin. Putin is a thug. Zelensky is a thug. Most world leaders are thugs. This is the unfortunate reality of geopolitics. But the job of the American president is not to pick which thug to back. It's to protect and prioritize the interests of the American people. The war must end. The killing must stop. The world is inching closer to World War III, and Trump appears to be the only leader on the world stage with the courage to pump the brakes. This is the defining issue of our time. Are we going to continue down the path of endless wars, or will we seize this moment to chart a new course? The media, the deep state, the war-hungry politicians, they'll try and spin this. They'll call Trump a traitor. They'll say he's abandoning Ukraine. They'll label him a Russian asset. But history will vindicate him. History will look back on this moment as the day the tide turned, the day America said enough. And Zelensky? He walked into the Oval Office expecting another payday, another round of applause. Instead, he got a lesson in power politics from the master himself, one he will soon not forget. Ladies and gentlemen, peace is coming. The war machine is grinding to a halt. And Trump, against all odds, against all opposition, is leading the charge. Buckle up. The era of endless wars is over. Hey, this is Richard Syrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.